Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are continuing our budget interesting commanders, or interesting budget commanders, if I'm going to be grammatically correct. We're looking at the EDH budget landfall commanders. Okay, so here we go. What is the series about? It's all about getting ideas for commanders to build on a budget and how to build them. So we look at the commanders and also some suggestions for the 99 to get you started on building it. So yeah, we're looking at the top 5 commanders for particular themes is what we're doing now. What is the theme? So I'm going to just read the draftism definition. I think it's much better than mine. The deck theme provides you with information such as cards you're probably playing, the most efficient spells for each theme, how you win, and sometimes how you avoid losing. Again, this video is focused on the landfall triggers, okay? So we're looking at landfall, which is a very powerful one. So the landfall theme. Again, landfall is a great triggered ability for many reasons, but mostly from one main reason. It gives you benefits for doing what you already want to do. Okay, so playing lands, ramping. These are things you want to do in every deck, and this gives you bonuses for doing that. Really making it easier to cast a whole bunch of spells and bigger spells while getting extra value for doing what you want to do is just always great to have in any deck. Landfall decks commonly include green, which is the best at land ramp. So green is really high up there on pretty much any landfall deck. If it doesn't have green, it's maybe not a good idea, even I might say. Well, that's probably a bit strong, but it's a lot more tricky. In the 99, okay, so Rampaging Balos, this is 6. It is a 6/6 with trample. 4 green, 6 converted mana cost. And whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 4/4 beast creature token. 4/4 tokens. It doesn't have flying or anything, but 4/4 token is not messing around. Especially just every time you play a land, there's another one. Like, oh boy. 60 cents? Tireless Provisioner. This used to be a much more expensive card. 2 in a green, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a food token, a treasure token, or oh no, it's a food token or a treasure token. I thought you could also do a clue. I'm wrong. Usually treasure, right? Playing a land and getting a treasure as well, that's crazy good. A lot of times lands might come in tapped if you're ramping. So yeah, that treasure gives you that mana the land would make that turn. Very, very huge. Especially in things like Chatterfang, where if you make a token, you make another token. Gets out of hand quickly. Anyway, 101 and Mina and Dead, Wildborn, 2 and Gruul this time for a 4/4. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Oh boy, Landfall loves that. And for a red and a green, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Target creature you control gains trample until end of turn. Ways to gain trample. Also, if you run out of lands, just picking up a land, even remember you can tap the land, put it back in your hand, put it back down, and if it's a basic land that comes in untapped, it's untapped. You basically just made an extra mana. So that's and being able to do that and grant trample is just a huge advantage. 78 cents. Okay, the countdown. Top 5. If you hear this kind of white noise in the background, it's actually cicadas. I don't know if you have cicadas where you live, but they are so loud. They seem louder today than usual even. My son was complaining about how loud they were. So yeah. It's a non-stop screeching sound actually. It doesn't sound like that on the video, but I don't know how to filter that out. Number 5. Omnath, Locus of Rage. Okay, big downside, casting cost. 3, red, red, green, green. So Gruul, 7 casting cost in a commander. You don't want to keep recasting that, that's for sure. But Landfall, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 5/5 red and green elemental creature token. And whenever Omnath, Locust of Rage, or another elemental you control dies, he deals 3 damage to any target. So obviously Elemental Kindred, Gruul, making those big creatures, and Elemental Kindred. Elemental Kindred is so strong because elementals have been around pretty much since the beginning of the game. So I'm pretty sure they're one of the original creature types, and yeah. I did a whole series on elementals and like all the budget options. Building an Elemental Kindred is very easy and effective, especially with Landfall. Actually, I should probably build a budget deck for this guy. Anyway, 70 cents. Okay, so looking at what to do with him. 2, again, Gruul, so we got our red-green. For a 4/4 reach, ward 2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, other creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain trample and haste until end of turn. So many decks, especially Gruul decks, almost all your creatures are going to have that 4 or higher power, and if they do have that, what you want is trample. Also haste 2, so you can just like start launching things right away. Oh boy. Warstorm Surge. So whenever, 5 in a red, so not cheap again, but whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to target, to any target, sorry. So you're going to be casting these big elementals. They come in. When they come in, they deal damage equal to their casting cost, and when they die, you deal 3 damage from Omnath. Just so quickly this adds up. 50 cents for that one. Sorry, I don't know if I said for the Cactus Sure Shot is 15 cents. Finally, Spring Bloom Druid, 2 in a green, and so this is a landfall heavy guy. When he enters the battlefield, sacrifice a land. If you do, search a land, your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So you're going to blow up 1 land, put 2 more back onto the battlefield. They do have the basics, but they trigger those landfall triggers. So yeah, Warstorm Surge is out. It's going to be so much damage, and you can also just not worry about like having those having stuff on the board. Really, those tokens are just going to do so much. Anyway, 25 cents. Number 4. Bonnie Paul Clear Cutter. I actually brought her up in a previous video as well. She's only 368 dex. She's a newer one, that's why. She also has a 6 CMC, which is kind of high. So 3 and then Simic, so green, blue, blue. She's a 6/5 with reach, so good start. And when she enters the battlefield, create Bow, a legendary blue ox creature token. With this creature has toughness, power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. Landfall is a kind of different take on Landfall, where it's just the number of lands. It's going to be like so much damage. Whenever you attack, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the, or a graveyard onto the battlefield. Again, or a graveyard, right? You can start just taking things from your graveyard, or taking lands from your graveyard, throw them back onto the battlefield. That is huge. Alright, so what you want to do, 51 cents, and what you want to do is have more card draw and keep dropping multiple lands per turn. Just keep the card draw going and keep like piling it down those lands, and there's kind of multiple ways you can win with this. So first up, Tireless Tracker. Again, he is a 3/2 for 2 and a green, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, investigates to create a clue token. So you're going to be able to pay 2 and sacrifice that token to draw an extra card. Just keeping that card draw going, making sure you're always playing 2 lands per turn. And whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 on counter on Tireless Tracker, which is nice as well. Coiling Oracle. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it into the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Straight into the battlefield if it's a land, and if it's not, put it into your hand. Also, it doesn't specify like basic land or anything like that. So yeah, it's just going to put any land straight into the battlefield. 20 cents only. Finally, Daze. Okay, for 1 and a blue, you may return an island you control to its owner's hand rather than pay Daze's mana cost. This is really good. Obviously, you get to play extra lands, so this isn't such a big deal for you as it is for other people. And counter target's spell unless its controller pays 1. 1 is not much of a tax, but you're not going to use this counter just anything. What you're going to do is counter spells, right? If someone's trying to counter spell you, this is what you use to counter that. People usually don't have a bunch of extra mana open on top of the counter spell cost, right? If it's 2 mana for the counter spell, they probably have 2 mana open, not 3, right? So that is going to be very, very useful. And anytime, you can always count up people's mana, right? If they're tapped out, just use this. And yeah, counter them. And 136. Number 3. So, Obun, I feel like Obun, Boon, Moldaya Ancestor. This is in 2,446 decks, so much more. Again, 1 and Naya business for 3/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, to 1 target land you control becomes an XX elemental creature token with trample and haste. Until end of turn, where X is Obun's power, it's still a land. So increase his power enough that you can make any land 1 per turn into like a fairly sizable creature. There's a lot of things you can do to like improve your land creatures, so you can do a lot of sneaky stuff that way. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Again, on target creature, it does not have to be him. It's a good idea for it to be him, but it doesn't have to be. Especially if you're going to add some proliferate to this as well, it gets out of control. Okay, so one of my students actually had this this is from a pre-con, and one of my students had it, and it's crazy. Like, you don't realize how fast and how hard this hits until you're playing against it, and you're like, oh, this is crazy. This is crazy. Okay, so Sheltering Landscape. Again, this is kind of the landscape cycle. This is the Naya one. So you can add a colorless, or you can sack it to find a basic land, or go search for a basic land, and any type of the mountain, forest, or plains. Okay, and then cycling as well. I've talked about these before, so I don't want to go into it a whole bunch. But anyway, Evolution Sage. Adding extra landfall triggers, always great. Especially with Proliferate. 2 and a green for a 3/2. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Proliferate. So you're going to putting this +1/+1 counters down, and then you're just going to stack them up over and over and over. 140 for that one. Finally, Naya Charm. Red, green, white. No big surprise there. Choose 1. Okay. Deal 3 damage to target creature. Return target card from your graveyard to its owner's hand. Again, yeah, just target card. It doesn't say target permanent, target card. Anything you want. And finally, tap all creatures target player controls. This is a finisher. I have lost to this. My student played this and just like wiped me out, I think more than once. This is like just end the game right now kind of card, right? Especially, yeah, you make your commander big, and then you make a big land, and then you play this, and you tap everything down, and you just basically like double strike. You don't even need commander damage, you just smash them. 35 cents. Number 2. Okay, Zimone and Dina. A black, green, white, or sorry, black, green, blue. I can't even say it right. Sultai, I believe it's called. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Sure, why not? It's something. Tap, sacrifice another creature, draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped if you control 8 or more lands. Repeat this process once. Okay, so you're going to tap, sack a creature, any creature, doesn't say non-token, and then you can draw a card and then put a land into the battlefield tapped. And if you control 8 or more, you're going to do it again. Draw another card, put another land down. 3 land drops per turn. Oh boy. So if you got other landfall triggers, that just goes completely out of control. Anyway, 60 cents only. Again, the real thing is getting those 8 lands. Once you get to those 8 lands, you're almost unstoppable. So Foreboding Landscape, once again, that landscape cycle, this is a Sultai version. I won't go over the whole thing. Zendikar Royal. Alright, so 3 green, 5 converted mana cost, which is a little pricey, but landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 green elemental creature token. Oh my gosh. So every time you play a land, you're making a token that you can sacrifice to play like up to 2 more lands on top of your original land drop. You can make potentially 3 of these every turn, and then sacrifice 1 to make 3 more. Oh boy, 89 cents, well worth the 89 cents. Okay, Tatiova, Benthic Druid. This is one that's very standard, I know. Kind of has to be on this list somewhere. So 3 Simic green-blue. And whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Again, you're going to drop a land, and if you drop that land, you get to draw a card, gain a life, and then sacrifice a creature, tap, sacrifice a creature, play another land, draw another card, and then, draw a card, play a land, draw another card, and then play a land, draw a card, draw another card. Like, basically, it's like draw 4 cards per turn, gain 2 life, play 2 lands for sacrificing any creature. Just insane. Okay. Number 1. What theme do you want me to cover next? Okay, and let's see. The Necro Bloom. Okay, this only is 490 decks. It's a newer one again. Landfall ability. The landfall ability is kind of. Oh, sorry. I should read the card. Hey, 1 white, black, green for 2/7. Abzan, right? I always want to forget Abzan as well. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 0/1 green plant creature token. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token instead. So getting those 3 basic lands down, plain, swamp, forest, not very difficult. Then 4 more with different names. Then you start making, on every landfall, you make a 2/2 zombie. Land cards in your graveyard have dredge 2, which means, you may return a land card from your graveyard to your hand and mill 2 instead of drawing a card. So anytime you can draw a card, instead you can be like, now I'll just mill 2 and I'll put a card from my graveyard back into my hand and then back into play. Very, very abusable, and it kind of gets that. I think it gets that 7 different land names of lands. That gets it done pretty quickly. Anyway, 50 cents. Deceptive Landscape this time. Same thing as before, 15 cents. Roiling Regrowth. So this is about sacrificing land, right? Sacrifice the land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them into the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. This is huge for getting those down, right? Sacrifice a land, even if it's a swamp, go get another swamp and a forest or whatever you don't have, put those into the battlefield. It's about getting those 3 basics down to start filling those 7. Anyway, 44 cents. Titania, Protector of Algoth. So when she enters the battlefield, return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can keep milling is the idea. You want to keep the mill engine going. And whenever land you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 5/3 elemental creature token. Oh, yeah, so you're gonna want to keep, like, basically blowing up your own lands to get them to the graveyard, to get them back out, while getting all this extra value from the landfall, from, like, Titania's ability. Anyway, 73 cents only. She's way down. Aw. Please hit like and subscribe, it really does help. Okay, and the list. Okay, here we go. Omnath, Locus of Rage is 70 cents. Bonnie Paul, Clear Cutter, 51 cents. Obun, Moldiah Ancestor, 50 cents. I still don't know if I'm saying that right. Zimone and Dina, 60 cents. I want to build that one. The Necrobloom, 50 cents. Honestly, not my favorite on the list. I get why people like it though. Anywho, take it easy.